Hey everyone, and welcome back. And before we can get into using typography in a bunch of different ways, we need to learn about the text tool within Figma. We're going to learn about text properties right now. So text properties allow you to control everything from the appearance and position of the text. You can even resize. You can, use a bunch of different other features. Let's jump in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a frame. Let's just start off, and we're gonna just create like a big block here. It doesn't even matter, and we're just gonna call this our test. Now we are going to actually start using the text tool. So I'm gonna press T to get my text tool and just click onto the screen, and I'm going to write something very simple like "Hello world." And the first thing I'm gonna do is let's bump it up in size so that way we can see what we're working with. And we're going to center this right in the middle, and let's jump in. Okay, so this is our beautiful, beautiful example text. Now, the different things you can just work with in terms of the text properties are things like font family. So you can set the font family here. You want it to be like Helvetica. You can do that. If you want it to be something like Roboto, you can do that. Personally, I'm a big fan these days of Inter. I think it's a beautiful font. The other thing that we're going to talk about is, so you've chosen the font family, which is over here. Now you can actually choose the weights. So Inter has like a bunch of different weights. That's why I like it. It's so versatile. You can choose things like medium. You can go to black. You can even have like black, extra bold italic. You have so many different options here. I'm going to stick with our medium for now, or let's just stick with semi-bold. I think that's good. Now, a typeface can have any number of styles and weights. Every font family will come with its own selection of styles, so it's not going to be the same. For example, we've seen like a bunch of different weights in just styles, like the italicized versions. They include things like thin, light, regular, medium, bold, black, and others are just like, a little bit, less expansive, and they just have maybe several different styles to choose from. So if you're looking for a very versatile font, this is one of them, especially for like UI design, super helpful. The other thing we can change in terms of the property is the size, which we illustrated before. You can either just select it or come in here and select that and edit it directly. You have other things like your actual letter spacing, which is really great. If you feel like this is too spaced out, I can reduce it to 2% and it's going to tighten it. And we have our line height, which is really great for all the different sizing. If we have say, let's use our plugin just to illustrate this. We're going to go into Lorem Ipsum. And I am just going to select that text layer, and there we go. And I'm just going to, bring this in a bit. So this is our text layer. Now to illustrate just the line height, if I have 125%, it's starting to space out a bit more. 150, that's really great for things like, larger paragraphs and whatnot. Over here, you have alignment options. You have your horizontal alignments, which is things like, text align left, text align center, text align right. You also have your vertical align options, which is, so if I say I drag the size of this box here, I can align it to the center of that box, to the bottom, to the top. Then we have other things like the resizing property. This controls over here. This is going to control how a text layer shrinks or grows to accommodate its contents. There are several settings available. So you have the auto width, which we saw over here, which is just going to keep on spanning. This is what I usually use. I set a fixed width, but I have an auto height. So it's automatically just going to keep on building, depending on the amount of text I have. You see how that kind of shrinks vertically, right? And then we have the full fixed version where you've set the height and the width. Now, a great thing that we can do now with Figma is we can go into these advanced options here. You can set a bunch of different things. You can set things like, your resizing is in here, your alignment's in here as well. You can set decoration like underlining, strike throughs. You can have paragraph spacing, paragraph indents. So, you're going to have that first line indented like you're reading a book. And you can also create lists. So you have different list styles now. So just going to come over here, and if you just press enter, you can have another list item. The other great thing is, you can change the type of list style. It can be numbered, or it can be just like your unordered list. You can remove it. Just keep in mind that once you remove it, it's gone, and you need to kind of fix the spacing there. And then you can set the case. So I'm going to just select there. You can set the case like this. So we have our uppercase, our lowercase, we have capitalized, and then we have just our, just our regular one right here. So this is just capital, and then, removing it will not give us the case letter anymore. If we wanted to even get like deeper into this, we can go into our details, and you can specify how numbers are viewed here. So if I say like 1991 or something like that, and I can say that the style is, you have different style versions based off of the font. You can make these smaller versions where it's just like superscript, you have subscript, normal. You can have fractions in here. So, there are a lot of different stylistic options, whether it's like variants and stuff like that. So a lot of fonts may not have, an extensive list like this, like Inter does. You can even come into the variable font and set that weight instead of like giving it, like an actual weight, like medium. You can set it to like 540 or 550, which is like this cross between medium and semi-bold. And if you wanted to, you can even like set a slant. Now, I personally don't play around with variables too much, but this is what you can do within Figma. It's pretty extensive. You can do so much with typography in here and just within the text properties. So definitely take a look, get a little comfortable with how to use just like different text properties with layers and different text layers. And then we can start building some pretty cool layouts.